The Israelites were God's specially chosen people. Moses and his brother Aaron were selected by God to lead them out of Egypt, where they were being held in bondage and forced into slavery by the Egyptian Pharaoh. God brought 10 devastating plagues upon Egypt before Pharaoh finally agreed to release them to travel to a land that God had chosen for them to live and flourish in. In a spectacular example of God's power and authority, the Israelites witnessed God parting the waters of the Red Sea in order for them to safely cross to the other side. Then, to the Israelites' amazement, they turned and saw the waters crash down upon the Egyptian army as they pursued them into the Red Sea. Not one Egyptian was left alive. That day, the Lord saved Israel from the hands of the Egyptians. The Israelites saw the great power the Lord had displayed, so the people feared the Lord and put their trust in God and in Moses, his servant. As the Israelites began the difficult journey across the Sinai desert toward the land of Canaan that God was going to give them, they began to grumble and complain. Every time they came up against a problem or need, all they would do is grumble and complain to Moses. Each time, Moses would go before God with their complaints, and each time, God would provide an answer to their needs. God never failed to meet every single need they had. Sadly, the Israelites continued to grumble and complain as they made their way across the desert. This was very difficult for Moses because even though they told Moses that they had faith and trusted in God, their actions didn't show it. In the 3rd month after the Israelites left Egypt, they camped in front of a mountain in the desert of Sinai. It was from this mountain that God called to Moses. He instructed Moses to go before the people of Israel and tell them, "You have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I carried you out of Egypt and brought you to myself. Now then, if you will obey my voice and keep my commandments, then you shall be my treasured possession among all the peoples of the earth. You will be my holy nation." When Moses told the people what God had said, they quickly answered, "All that the Lord has spoken, we will do." Then the Lord spoke to Moses and said, "Prepare the people of Israel, because in 3 days I will come down to the top of Mount Sinai and appear to you and the people in a thick cloud. But be sure and warn the people to not go up the mountain, or even touch their foot upon it, for if they do, they will die." On the 3rd day, the people of Israel awoke to the sound of fierce thunder and lightning flashes coming down from the mountain. A cloud descended upon the top of Mount Sinai with the sound of a trumpet so loud that all the people of Israel trembled in fear within their camp. Moses brought all the people outside their camp to the foot of Mount Sinai to meet God, with the warning from God to not touch the mountain or set foot on it. By this time, the entire mountain was violently shaking and engulfed in fire and smoke. The Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain and stay here. I will give you 2 stone tablets with the law and commands I have written for you and my chosen people, the Israelites." The glory of the Lord settled on Mount Sinai as Moses entered the cloud at the top of the mountain. Moses stayed there for 40 days and 40 nights in the presence of God. When the Lord finished speaking to Moses, God gave him 2 stone tablets inscribed by the finger of God that contained the 10 Commandments. Moses was to take and share them with God's chosen people of Israel. God spoke these words and said, "I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt and out of the land of slavery. These are the 10 commandments that you are to follow. The first commandment,
You shall have no other gods before me. The second commandment, you shall not make for yourself any idol, nor bow down to it or worship it. The third commandment, you shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. The fourth commandment, you shall remember and keep the Sabbath day holy. The fifth commandment, honor your father and mother. The sixth commandment, you must not commit murder. The seventh commandment, you must not commit adultery. The eighth commandment, you must not steal. The ninth commandment, you must not give false testimony against your neighbor. The 10th commandment, you must not be envious of your neighbor's house or anything that belongs to them.